Hello everyone, my name is Gaurav and this is AZ 500 course which is for Azure Security Engineer, and this is my channel which is Gaurav Technology Tech, and here you can learn technology easily. So let's start this session. Okay, so if I talk about this course, then in this course you should having some knowledge which is prerequisites knowledge such as defense in depth, least privilege access, MFA and RBAC, share responsibility, and zero trust model. So these are the some prerequisites which you should know before starting this case. I'll try to explain also so that you can understand this terminology in this course. So this course will be easy for you if you don't know about these prerequisites. So this course is for security specific information. Uh, Already, I hope that you are having the experience of deploying Azure workloads, like how to deploy virtual machine, how to create a storage account, and like based on Windows and Linux operating system. And you should have the knowledge of scripting languages also, and some network terminologies you should know, like security protocols such as VPN, IPsec, SSL, secure socket layer, which basically work on port 80 and 443, which is HTTP and HTTPS, disk encryption and data encryption. So these are the some terminologies which you should know before starting this course. But don't worry, I'll also try to explain you all those things so that you can easily understand all these things. This is our course agenda, and here in module 1, I'll provide you the introductions or Azure. I'll explain you the Azure Active Directory, identity protection, enterprise governance, privileged identity, hybrid identity. And in module 2, I'll cover that perimeter security, network security, host security, and container security. And in module 3, we will discuss about keyboard, application security, storage security, database security, and so on. So, and our last module will be about the monitor and security center and sentinel. So, this was the course agenda. And if you want to do the preparation for certification exam, then these are the some certification areas as per the module basis. So these are the weightage percentage which Microsoft has provided. So this may be vary because I'm recording this video right now, and after 1 month or 2 months, this weightage may be changed as per, because we know that technologies are changing very rapidly. So in managed identity and access, you can get the around 30 to 35% questions related to this module, and 50 to 20% related to the second, and so you can go through it. Okay, so this is our first module, which is manage identity and access. Okay, so okay, well, I have already told you that I'll try to explain you some terminologies which you don't know already. So before going into the depth of this module, uh, let's understand some important points, which are identities, share responsibility model, zero trust architecture, defense in depth, and just in time and just enough access, which is JIT and JEA, and least privilege access. So uh, we will be requiring an understanding of certain technologies, certain keywords which are generally used. So the first thing which we need to understand is, if I talk about the first point here, which is identities. So then we have shared responsibility model, and then zero trust architecture, least privilege, and defense in depth. Okay, which I already told you. So let's start with identity. We want to authenticate the identities. Okay, so Now, first question is what identity, and the second question is why we want to authenticate those identities. Why are we giving a lot of stress on authenticating and managing those identities? So, for that, we have to understand today's scenario. And with that scenario, I want you to all understand these terminologies. And these terminologies we will be going to discuss in this entire slide. So, with various services that how Azure is helping us in implementing and working on these special features on special requirement which we have in nowadays scenario. So first we have identities. So identity means in cloud structure or in a physical world we want to identify any entity. Okay, so we have certain characteristics associated with that, be it a person or be it a thing or be it a place. So we have different identification for various things which we see. Uh, in cloud, we when we give access, we will be giving access based on certain characteristics. We are going to define individual. We are going to define a device. We are going to define an application. We are going to give them the identities, and based on that identities, we will be accessing and we will be managing that. What all access we want to give to this particular entity, and so that entity can be individual, and that individual will be getting a unique identification. With this unique identification, this identity will be able to access the resources in the cloud infrastructure. Okay, so as we know that and because digital world, we will not be able to count the number of things which are coming for requesting the access. So we need to manage all these access, and for managing the access to the resources we have in cloud infrastructure, we need to give identity to every entity. Okay, so this identity is basically helping us in managing the secure access, managing the level of access we are uh, giving to the various requests which are coming, so we can authenticate that this identity is legit identity or not. We can verify those identities, so we can also authorize that this identity is having this privilege or having this level of access or not. So we first thing with identity and access management, we will try to understand and see how we can create identities, how we can manage identities. Do we need to create one entity at a time, or can we create a number of entities together like any bulk creation is there or not? That we will see also managing these identities individually, because we have, again, if we talk about that large organization, we have an employees, or we have employees or users in thousand or in lakhs, as you know, because if we are working in an organization, there may be multiple resources which multiple employees who are working there. So now if individually we are going to manage these identities, again it will be difficult. So why not to group them? Do we have such facilities so that we how we can create those groups? Can we create groups in bulk, or do we have any rules on which we can create groups and add users? So all those things related to creation and managing the identities we will going to talk about here. Lot of things about Azure Active Directory, and I'm sure that most of you worked on Active Directory also, where we are doing the similar thing. We are creating users, we were adding the different resources like printers and systems, and then we are accessing them. We are giving the access to them who can access what similar to that in cloud. We are going to do with Azure Active Directory. So this was about the identities. Now let's talk about that share responsibility model. So we have cloud service provider, which is taking the responsibilities of securing the resources. But again, I can say the customer is also responsible for managing that. As I have given the example that in Azure AD we can create identities. Now, what kind of access we need to give? That we need to manage based on the organizational requirement. The resources are available, the services are available, but how to use it, that is based on the organizational requirements. So shared responsibility models say that the services are provided by cloud service provider, but you have to manage your own task. So customer and cloud service provider, which is CSP, both are managing and both are responsible for providing the secure access to the identities and security of the resources. So we have various models also, like as infrastructure as a service, PaaS, platform as a service, and SaaS, software as a service. So different responsibilities are given to customer and cloud service provider in these particular modules. So we are not going to discuss in detail, but just to make sure that why we are understanding all these services, because as a customer, this is our role and responsibility to use these services to provide a secure access to the entire infrastructure. Okay, so now let's talk about zero trust architecture. Uh, 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 I give you one example. Like we generally see that when we are trying to log into Google, and if we have that one-time password enabled, then we are not getting that message on our mobile. Sometimes maybe, but we want to enter into our account. It feels sometimes it feels like a little frustrating. Also, that this is my account, but I'm not able to log in into. So that frustration is okay. Yeah, we understand. But this particular scenario which we are seeing is only for our security, because we don't want to trust any access. So, and this is the same principle is implemented in the cloud, and that's why we are managing the authentication of identities, because we are assuming that whatever request is coming for breach. So this is a principle of zero trust model, and that we have to verify every signal which is coming, and we have to assume that there is a breach in every request which is coming. So if you are always checking the request which is coming for access, then you will be able to provide a secure access, because you are not going to trust any signal, and this is good for you. So because of that, cloud is based on zero trust model, where every time you want to access any resource, you have to give your identity. Your identity will be authenticated, and based on that you will be authorized to certain tasks in the cloud infrastructure. So this is a zero trust model. There are a lot of layers and a lot of security measures which we can do on the parameter layer, on the host, on the containers. So everywhere we are expecting some kind of request for access, but we are going to limit that access. We are going to filter those requests, because we want to work on the trust model, where we are trusting only the authenticated signals which are coming in the in our infrastructure. So if I talk about defense in depth, which we are learning, because every layer needs a different security setting. Every layer needs a different security configuration, and so we can't say that if we have a firewall enabled in our infrastructure, it means that entire infrastructure is safe. We can have different attacks at different layer. So every layer needs to be worked in such a manner that if attacker is able to penetrate the outer layer, they will not be able to breach the security in the inner layer. So that's why we have a security at the physical layer, data layer, network layer, transport layer, every layer, and application layer. So in zero trust model, we are not going to trust any signal. We are going to verify that signal. In defense in depth, at every layer we have a security manager. If even if I talk about SSO, single sign-on, so you can say that if I have SSO integrated, I authenticated with AD, now I can access the application. No, you can access those applications definitely without any authentication, but let's say you have certain application where again you are not able to trust even the authenticated. You want to again authenticate that person based on certain signal. Can we do that? That's also available with the help of conditional access policy. Even if you are coming from the authenticated, but then still you need certain more parameter to check before giving the access, because your application is accessing and working with the confidential data. Then these two terms which I have mentioned, like just in time and just enough access, which is second last. Okay, so we are doing just in time and just enough access for providing temporary access, for providing minimum level of access for a specific period of time, because we want to reduce the attack surface and we want to reduce the time period which we can give to attacker for attacking any identity, you know uh, compromised, or let's say any data is breached. An attacker will be access will be able to access a user's credential and user account. If that user is having a privileged access for a particular time period, let's say we need to open our port and 22 port is open for certain access. You discuss about basin also. So that is a way of providing in which we are not opening any port, but still we are able to access. So what we are doing, this port is open and mistakenly this port is open for a longer period of time. We know that this is a very easy way to entering into the system. If we can open this port only for just in time, it will solve our purpose. We will be able to access the things, but only for a limited period of time. Then automatically this will be closed. So these kind of facilities are required in infrastructure, because lot of things and lot of resources are there. How we are able to manage and able to track those things? If you talk about VMs, uh, there are lot of, lot many VMs will be running in your infra. So if you have certain automatic manner in which you can manage the time limit which you want to give, or access which you are giving to your user, which is privileged access. So let's suppose user A is working on certain projects, and for that project user A need a security administrator role, not for the permanent basis but for a time period, let's say for 1 day or 2 day. Okay, let's say for 15 days, and every 15 days that user needs that particular access. So why to give a permanent access to this user? Why not to limit this? Because we don't want to give access which is more than the required thing. So whatever job you are assigned, based on that job only we want access to be given, so that we can reduce the attack surface. Plus we can also reduce the chances of getting attacked by the attacker. If that port is closed, this particular path will not be available to the hacker. At least we are trying to close the maximum level of option for the attackers, because we know that 100% is not 100% security is not possible to be safe on the online, but still whatever the things we know, at least we can take care of that the terminologies which we have discussed. We will be going to discuss about the privilege identity management, where we are going to assign certain privileged roles to the identities for a certain period of time, and automatically that will be expired. Let's say you want that approval A will approve that request. That is also possible, because everything whatever you are doing in cloud is based on 3A, and the 3A, which are authenticating, authorizing, and accounting, because accounting is very important for the audit purpose, for managing and checking. So that what all activities are happening and who is doing what in my infrastructure. So this is a very important part. I hope that now you have a fair understanding of these terminologies.